these are some ideas I have to make parking more friendly for disabled people in a variety of manners. My first idea is to have parking spaces that we have ability to somehow expand them. So, normally if you park in a parking space, you can only, the one next to you, the parking space, other people can park into. This is a problem if you have a wheelchair or some other needs, they need extra space. Now, what if you have instead a parking space that there's a way that if you park in any space and there's a free space next to it or on either side, depending on the format of the car and where the disabled person is, that you could freely expand it. So more and more places become like handicap parking spaces for wheelchair users, because this could open up for more people with wheelchairs suddenly coming in. If they make the prediction wrong, it could also open up the possibility of a wheelchair user for whatever reason wants to park in a different space than usual, or that the parking spaces are not the best for the wheelchair user. Maybe they want to park a little farther out because it's too busy close by. Maybe that they want to go something that there wasn't reserved parking space. They're using the Walmart parking space to go to a Burger King, or maybe they want to take a little longer ride for whatever reason. Maybe someone unfairly used a wheelchair parking space and blocked it off. You can come up with a large variety of reasons why this might be a nice add-on feature. Another useful idea I'd have is to have partial handicap spaces. And by partial handicap spaces, what I mean is that not all people need the same amount of handicap ones, but it would be nice. So some people have mobility issues, wheelchairs, they do need extra space, but some people need some handicapped people could still use a space that is reserved for them, even if they don't have the same needs, because they might not need as much space as a handicap one, or they might need one because of issues where they don't want to park near as much noise or something, or that they have or they want me, or they face so much time press and stuff that they need, like, a lot of us have less time in our lives because we have to deal with so much more stuff. So having a space reserved can make our lives a little more easier that way, and so on and so on. So maybe a partial handicap space would be an interesting idea. Another thing is to have design the whole thing to be the space to be more quieter. And there's a couple of things you could do to design the space to be more quiet. You could plant trees or bushes or something in certain places to absorb the sounds. You could have walls made of foam or material that absorbs sounds, so it's a little more quieter. You could have wind barriers to absorb some of the sound. Little miniature wind turbines that actually could lower the amount of sound of moving air. Things like that. Just, you could have carts that make a little less thumping sounds. You could have these are all passive ways, but you could even design ones with more active ways of canceling noise out, and that would be a lot fancier but doable. Just some thoughts to put in it. And noise pollution doesn't only affect human beings; it affects a wide variety of animals. In the native things, which really can disrupt the environment. It also just makes normal people have higher stress levels and hard for them to talk or pay attention to things, which all can increase accidents as daily stress is bad for your health and more. Having better markings where different sections are, or stuff to help people that have trouble with navigation and stuff, or remembering where they park, would help a lot of people with disabilities, just, or regular people, just make their lives less stressful. And yeah, so just have, like, in the markings to be have colors, so they have numbers and letters, because they're all distinct, because some people remember numbers better, some people remember letters better, some people remember colors better. Some people remember shapes, so you can have markings with all these different things together on one thing, and each of them are distinctive, so you can just go by the numbers, the colors, or one thing or another thing. You can just memorize whatever your memory works the best for. Something that is a lot more outlandish than all the other previous ideas I've talked about would be robo parking, or robots that park in and out of your parking thing. So the robots will pull over very close to where you need to get your stuff or stop or whatever, drop you off. Then they'll park in a parking spot, space, whatever. Then they'll come back and pick you up. It's a nice idea. That would require much more working with the tech companies, actually, or the companies that build cars, compared to all the other ideas, which were more based on the actual car system. So I do want to iterate that these ideas are all over the place. Another one I would say is, and I'm going to make these things a little bigger for people to see a little more easily, so I'm going to get rid of the first one and see if that makes it more big. Another idea that I have, besides all these ones which were pretty much basic with the tech side, is quieter pavement. Some pavements make more or less noise. Now, some of it is how bumpy and smooth it is. You can make a smoother pavement in a variety of ways, but you can also, if you more heavily maintain it, it can stay smoother. But other ones, it's more based on how much it vibrates. Concrete is a harder, more solid material that vibrates much more with different particle sizes. Also, if you have materials in a material that have vibrate in different ways, the vibrations can actually cancel out or not emit one vibration in a particular noise, so it's more spread out. The noise more like a white noise instead of one harsh noise. You can have pavements with better grip can also help. So having the right mixture of different particle sizes, different particle materials, smoothing it a lot can help give better grip and traction. So there's also all those safety benefits right there. There's and also energy benefits. It can be more energy. You also maybe want to make a pavement that specifically grips more better in wet weather, which could help people with mobility aids fall down less. But then you might also have them scrape more if they fall down. So you'd have to be interesting designing it for people with aids so they don't fall down as much, but also so they don't hurt themselves as much when they fall down. That balance, which is I don't know what one it's going to exactly lean to. Having pavements that let water out more easily, or having places which can make it so there's less splashing, or people that have trouble cleaning themselves or something, when they get wet, it doesn't affect them as much. Or they're less likely to slip down and hurt themselves. There's a variety of ways you can do that. You can design better drainage systems, which can really help people. You can put more plants and stuff to absorb the water faster, and rain gardens. You can design permeable pavement, which I've talked previously about. Permeable pavement lets the water in through everywhere, so it really stops it. You can make the whole place more smooth, so it's less pockets of water and puddles build up. And all these other little things you could potentially do. So that's a water out. Also, another thing I forgot to say about plants, that besides them making more quiet and stuff, if you plant plants that are hypoallergenic, which some of them are not, it's not only better for the environment, but it attracts more animals and stuff like that, but it also can help in calm people down, because plants and nature has sometimes a soothing effect, and not, I don't want to make it something mystical out. Another idea is to use what I will term solar cover. An idea about solar cover with this whole thing is put solar panels everywhere above the whole thing, and that could mean that we could have more power without using up as much land, so we save on land. But the thing about solar cover is it can actually help plants grow, because plants don't grow best in really strong sunlight. So shading will actually help the plants grow. But it can also help people with light sensitivities like me. If you do it right with plants and stuff, it can lead to a cool place. And being too hot is a huge problem for some people with disabilities. But you can also trap heat in other times if you do carefully and keep the place extra hot. So you can more temperature regulate without really using up that much energy in the environment, and actually, in fact, making energy. So you have all these potential ideas with solar cover really being a useful thing. Besides solar cover, you put little miniature wind turbines, which cannot generate nearly as much energy as a big one, because the velocity squared is how much energy. But they could generate a little bit of energy, so it's somewhat useful. And they could reduce noise and keep areas, help temperature regulate areas too. Another potential idea is to just have valet parking and pickups of some sort with people that work there, which could keep them more of a job, but also just instead of the robot car stuff. You can not also have that you have more programs with people shopping and buying for you, and then you just have to pick it up. So you can just be in and out there quicker with less sensory problems or issues. Which is not the exact same as a regular pickup, but you get the idea. You could have them text a number and they come to where you've already parked, if you don't want to park exactly in front of that, so like the handicap spaces or something. You could have it. You could also have this local pickup stops if you don't want to drive up somewhere where a person comes with a taxi or something and just drops it off in your car and puts it in your car. That's not even a store or building, just a parking lot. Just maybe some ideas that will help somebody a little bit out there. We could work on some social changes, and excuse that little thing in the right there. The social changes could be that people should honk less. People educate people why you shouldn't park in the handicap parking space unless you're handicapped, and there's very many reasons to that. Why you shouldn't block off that little extra bit of the handicap parking space, because it's used for people with wheelchairs or other mobility aids, or people have a hard time moving around. You could do a bunch of other things like that, or you could talk about making social things like having public transportation that are more accessible for disabled people and help them use it. So that's a ton of things that could be done right there. With all this, we could also work on wind barriers, and by wind barriers I mean everything from the little wind turbines I said to plants we plant to the sound absorbing things. These wind barriers can help people that have sensitivity to wind blowing on them, but they can also help people hear better. It can help people stop stuff from blowing stuff away, which can lead to detriments, and every little thing affects disabled people more. It can stop rain from coming in at odd angles, or in the solar panels from before can also help protect people from the rain, which is a huge benefit. If you're disabled, again, from getting wet and stuff, they can also the solar panels from before can redirect the rain better into the drains or certain areas, so you can avoid the puddles better. And the wind barriers could even make some electricity, I said, if the certain designs, not a lot, but some electricity. And they can prevent damage to a lot of things from stuff blowing around and hitting stuff. Onto again the more societal changes. Having no noise areas could really, really help out people. By no noise areas, I mean areas where we don't play music, we do less honking, we don't yell and stuff like that, for all the people with sound sensitivities. And again, this will help normal people too, by lowering stress levels in those areas quite dramatically. So the no noise areas is a very good idea, or we could have different levels of noise areas and signs for them. Just, even though this also to some extent falls under societal change, but maybe this will be more strictly enforced or something. And you could also use more of the sound mitigation area, so some places can be more noisy area for people that do enjoy that. Charging stations, because I think electric vehicles can be very potentially good in this case, because electric vehicles are quieter. They have also refueling is safer and easier in them in some ways. They are cheaper to maintain, easier to fix, cheaper to run, but also charging stations for stuff that disabled people might have, electronics or gadgets they may have to help them with a disability. So, and they also might be using the car as an extra battery for some of the items they have. So having charging stations with all the solar panels and other things I'm talking about could be a very useful additional feature actually for disabled people to do everything. Another one that is a little bit more futuristic is voice control for different amount of lighting in an area or stuff like that, or directs, or you have a voice thing they can pay someone to call someone for questions or help or something like that. This is one of the more futuristic ones I put down here, and probably one of the ones to kind of ignore more, but we're getting there. Problem though, putting a voice control thing in a parking lot is that could be a lot more ambient noise, people talking. It has to be constantly on, so we'll use energy unless it's a button to push, which doesn't totally defeat the purpose, but to some extent it does kind of defeat the purpose of it being there. So voice control is not the most ideal solution out there. Another potential thing that could be done besides voice control is that parking lots can oftentimes be smelly. And there's a couple things we can do to reduce the smell in parking lots. One is we could make the parking lots have no cigarette rules or stuff like that to help reduce the smell. But plants also can absorb smelly substances and make a place less smelly. Of course, if the plant itself is not smelly. There's also special paints and stuff that can help break down smells or ways which we could look into. So that could potentially help a lot of people with just dealing with awful smell things. But that's about it for now. Well, thank you very much and better markings on it that could be maybe with voice control turn on and off to be brighter or less bright. Well, thank you very much for listening. Please like and subscribe. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers in a year and 4,000 watch hours, which is really hard, but with your help, I think can do it. Also, if you have any ideas for future videos, comments, or suggestions, please leave in the comments section below. It really helps the channel out. Again, thank you very much. Goodbye.